Hello, everyone. So today we're doing another reading of Feather Sharp as Knives, Chapter 5. Just going to be doing a reading and looking over some details, seeing how we can improve on, just kind of work through it and see what's going on here. So let's take a look at it here and jump in as we go and do this. Now, I should probably, is it better to zoom in? You guys see it when I zoom in? So like that. All right, let's do that. So Feather Sharp as Knives, Chapter 5. The sun hadn't risen long before, but when Imelda opened Arturo's door, he had already sat at his desk writing in his notebook. She closed the door to drown out the sounds of moving in the hallway. The sounds of moving and prepping the house to be empty, because after they left, there'd be no one in the Albizzi home until Arturo got married or Renzo and Dante returned, whichever happened first. She pulled his armchair over and plopped into it. I hate this. I know. His voice was as soft as the scritch of his quill on the paper of his notebook. We did know it was coming, but not so soon. She bit her lip. And not to a foreigner. Oh wow, that's pretty messed up. Well, not messed up. That's just okay. That's right on the nose. Arturo put his pen down and stared out the window at the palazzo across the canal. No, neither of those. You'll take care of house, right? Keep Mama's portrait in your room, or maybe the dining room. Or maybe Arturo's future wife would appreciate it. Hopefully Primo would find a good bride for him. You can take it with you. I have to figure a way out of this. She put her head into her hands. How could he do this to us, especially after killing Mama? Imelda. He didn't say anything because Imelda didn't need to hear his objections. Objectively, he'd say Primo didn't kill their mother, but his behavior made a sick woman sicker. In Imelda's mind, that was the same thing. If he'd stopped being such a selfish prick, he'd have seen the effect his actions had on Imelda's mother. He would have straightened up. He had a choice. He chose wrong, so he was to blame. A drawing of the wings in Arturo's notebook caught Imelda's eye, a simple sketch surrounded by notations in his small, tight script. Why are you working on those? We should still finish them. We owe it to ourselves, and it's not like we can when you move to Heraclea. If Imelda would only think it as an if and not a when. She hadn't given up yet. She wouldn't. You've got a plan to escape? I can't give in, but no. She scrubbed at her face and sat up. I've got nothing. Someone knocked on the door. Come in, Arturo called. Venezia walked in, wearing her Fleet Admiral dress and a serious expression. Imelda turned away from her to look out the window. A flock of seagulls flew by. That is a good band. Way, I went so far away. It's a good song, A Flock of Seagulls. I came to apologize, Venezia said. Arturo stood and gestured at his chair. Footsteps rang across the wood floors as Venezia approached, but she didn't sit. Imelda folded her arms and refused to turn around. I'm sorry how everything happened yesterday. Venezia's voice was soft and remorseful. It was almost convincing enough to make Imelda turn around. Primo was out of line telling you during your father's funeral. I should have ensured he would wait. But you knew. Imelda choked on her anger and hurt. It's not like she could stop Primo from telling you, Imelda, Arturo said. Thank you, Arturo, Venezia sat. Her knees brushed Imelda's, and Imelda curled her legs into her chair. I didn't realize they sat right next to each other. Okay. When did Venezia sit down? Refused to turn around. Imelda folded her arm, refused to turn around. But didn't sit. Oh, her knees brushed Imelda's. So she's standing over her? It's a little weird. I feel like maybe some clearer blocking a little bit might help. I'm a little confused here, but it's not terrible. And if I'd been there, if I'd been here, I could have mitigated the situation, but I couldn't have told you beforehand. That's Primo's responsibility now. It's his. She took a deep breath. It's his right. Her voice had an acidic edge to it. Imelda knew they weren't close, but obviously Venezia disliked Primo being over her in the family hierarchy more than she let on. She maneuvered Imelda's chair so it faced her. We have to face facts, Imelda. Primo's the oldest of our generation. He's head of the family. I wish you were the oldest. Imelda drew her eyes away from the window into Venezia, who shook her head with a rueful smile. So much would be different. So much. She put her hands on Imelda's foot and leaned forward. I'm sorry, truly. Do you forgive me? Arturo took his notebook and sat on the corner of his bed. She had no say in the matter, Imelda. Imelda looked at Venezia's hands. Her fingers were long and scarred from her years using the knife, but they were also strong, and they'd smoothed Imelda's hair and wiped her ears away so much when she'd been younger. Imelda sighed. Of course I do. Doesn't change the fact that I'm still upset about the situation. It's okay you're scared. Marriage can be daunting. I gotta figure out that voice change. She tucked a lock of Imelda's hair behind her ear she had so many times. Ulysses is a good man, I promise you that. But he's greedy, Imelda said, selling his soothsaying abilities or whatever they are, and he's Primo's lapdog. Venezia laughed. I can assure you, Ulysses is no one's lapdog. They're good friends, right? Arturo's eyes scanned his notebook. He made a thoughtful sound and nodded to himself. We've known him our whole lives, yes, Venezia said. You can trust Ulysses. Marrying him won't be bad. I can't promise he'll be a great husband, but he won't be a terrible one. That's more than many women get. You don't need to worry. I'm not scared. I just want to be in charge of my own life. And Anselmo? She just wanted to see him again. See if cared as much about her as he had 4 years ago. If he had cared about her as she cared about him. Primo's timing was too perfectly terrible. And I don't want to leave you or Arturo. Arturo half smiled. And the worst part is, well, what you've talked about, Arturo. He put a finger on the paper to mark his spot, then tilted his head in thought. About our marriageable prospects being our greatest worth to the family. Oh, gods, it was so much worse when he put it that way. She couldn't help but wince. Exactly. If only she had paid attention to their tutors. If only Arturo had, they'd spend the time ignoring whatever their teacher said, drawing out plans for the wings. But now Imelda had no practical skills to help the family. What if we spent time at the family office, learned about one of the businesses we own, learned how to manage it, or we could work with you on how we lease out the labyrinth or whatever to the government? It's too late, Venezia said. You'd never learned enough in the month you have left. Even sooner than she thought. She sat back in the chair, her chest deflating and her shoulders sagging. A month? Her voice was small in her mind and echoed in her ears. Maybe 2 if you're lucky. Primo hasn't told me any dates yet. She looked at Arturo. They'd wasted so much time. Tell me about it. Story of my life. It's too late now, he said. It's unfair is what it is. She scrubbed at her cheeks, replaying those years of lost tutoring sessions, all to chase what Primo called an impossible dream. Except, Venezia had even said it herself, if Arturo and Imelda were successful with the wings, they could contribute to the family. Arturo watched her and Venezia, his notebook on his lap. The edges of the pages were wrinkled from wine stains and a year of work. And this was only his most recent journal. They had so much they'd learned over the past 10 years. You think we can finish the wings before my wedding? I wanted to try, he said slowly. Then his eyes lit up as he caught on. His voice sped up. Then we can sell them to the highest bidder, to the council, to the spinning guild. It doesn't matter, because when they see me flying, they're going to pay me anything. And we'll earn our freedom, and you won't have to get married. Wait, Venezia held up her hands. You think you can finally get it perfected in a month? Arturo handed his notebook to Venezia. I've already been toying with new ideas. I'm confident we will. No one will just want 1 pair of wings. We have 2, Imelda said. Arturo cut in. We'll sell them the design. We'll need a lot of money to survive without the family. Should license that. License the design. Put that on. Patent, baby. Venezia's eyes scanned the page and she nodded. $5 million for 2 pair of wings and the finalized designs. You'll be well off that amount, especially if you invest it wisely. Will you help us? Imelda asked. Venezia looked between them, her eyes narrowed. Imelda had seen that expression on her cousin's face enough to know what that meant. She was thinking, weighing everything they said. I'll buy them, Venezia said. We can get some build up. maybe some doubt, just, I don't know, a little something extra right here. I feel like it's missing something. Just a pause in the beat before she says affirmatively, "I'll buy them," Venezia said. "And you're right, the council will want them too. That will create a bidding war. You'll get the amount you need." Imelda pulled Venezia to her feet and hugged her tight. Venezia took Imelda by the shoulders and kissed her cheek 6 times. The sealing of a deal. She then kissed Arturo's cheeks 6 times as well. It was a promise that could not be broken. Oh, big time. I like that. Arturo's face split in the biggest grin she'd seen in years, and she couldn't help but return it with one of her own. She looked confident, and Imelda felt that way. They didn't have time to second guess. They had to finish the project they'd started 10 long years ago, a dream a decade in the making. Human flight. Primo scoffed and called it impossible. But if Italo Albizzi could make walls move, Imelda and Arturo could invent wings. They were his heirs in name, and soon they would be in legacy as well. The time for chasing their impossible dream was over. It was time to capture it. That's a hell of an ending. This is a cool chapter. So the only thing in terms of character and setting and premise, so we really hit it with the next beat. This is a very useful, like, this is a scene. It's perfect. It needs to be in the book. Obviously, you see the decision, right? So the characters are moving into action, which is a really cool part. The only thing you'll learn enough in a month is, I feel like we're playing those Years of Lost training sessions. There's a part here where you build all this up well, and the way this is talked out is actually really good. You know what? It's fine. I had a thought, but I'm even looking back over it now. This is really good. This is fun. I think this is really moving along well. I think so for everyone to know, like, okay, what's something that's really working well? So with our 3 character pillars, what are the things that are working really, really well here? Why is that working? Well, obviously, when the characters speak, there's enough of a distinction between how they speak that helps with the characterization. And you see it sort of just in the way they choose words, and I don't know, things like saying things like "wish you were the oldest," things like that for Imelda. This is really good. She's done a really good job characterizing through dialogue. And the scene obviously sets up them getting bought and a way forward. I think what I would like is maybe something, because leading to it. So she looked at, they'd wasted so much time. "It's too late now," he said. "And if it's unfair," she scrubbed at her cheeks. But because he thinks there's time and that it's too late and that he wanted to try. "I think we can finish the wings before my wedding." Okay. This is when he's getting it. This is right here. This is when he's getting it. Okay. Yeah, no, it's there. This is great. This is great. This is a really cool chapter. So this is a complete chapter because first we're moving the plot, because at the end of it, we see a fundamental decision change in the characters, right? So there's a decision being made at the end of this chapter. In terms of setting, obviously we're just in a house. There's not like a terrible amount of world building here, but we are learning more about the implications of them not having any skills, only really being able to be married off, and she covers all that really well through the dialogue. And so what makes this chapter work is that it helps with the characterization, because Venezia also apologizes, and you see her contrition, and Imelda sees her contrition. So you realize there's this level of sincerity here with that. They have a pretty good bond. And you can see that there's no Primo fans in this room. There's no Primo fans here. But everyone just recognizes who he is. Venezia is more seasoned with the realities of life. But there's no Primo fans here. And so then after that, you see just a big change in the whole atmosphere when they realize there's a way out. And then we've created a decision because we were presented with the problem the last time we were with Imelda, but now we've found a solution. Now, in terms of pacing, we're moving pretty quickly, but this is good, right? Because now we can get into making these wings that help people fly. And that's our story so far. That's our main plot point, right? As well as Anselmo, right? Because she's trying to see if Anselmo still feels for her. So now we have a romantic plot line, and the main plot line of building the wings so she can get out of the marriage, and we've time bombed it with a month. So this is all working really, really well. This is when good writing really comes to the forefront, because you see that there's all these different things being taken care of with it. So you always want to make sure that when you're setting up your main plot point or your conflict, that there is a point of pressure and urgency. And we've done that because of the marriage, as well as the fact that, it's been a decade in the making. And now we need to investigate Venezia's motivations in buying them, because she's thinking it over. And she just said, yeah, sure, I'll give you guys, which might seem like a magical solution. So maybe, depending on Venezia's rationale, it definitely would have been interesting if Imelda had to do some convincing or try to sell it. Because I'll be honest, if someone's like, here, do this work and I'll give you 5 million, rubles or bucks or whatever, that seems like a pretty nice out. But that's not so bad, because we see the real conflict isn't in finding a solution, but probably in just getting these wings to work, however they're going to work. And then, Anselmo getting out of this wedding. So the solution did sort of plot magically in her hand, but it feels a little less magical because we know that Venezia's got some stuff going on too. So there might be more to this end game than we know. So let's check that out and let's keep reading. So this is chapter 5 of Feathers Sharpened Knives. Good stuff. Keep it up, Christina, and look forward to reading more. For anybody who found this helpful, like, subscribe, and leave a comment down below on anything you guys want to say about it. So thanks. Good luck. Take care. Peace. Stay happy and stay healthy. Bye-bye.